Hey there, my name is Chase Jackson, Vice President of Sales and Marketing with Energy Easy. And the short video in our video series today is on the topic of ocean acidification. When we think of descriptive words to describe our oceans, we think of things such as beauty and power and strength. And when taking a closer look and seeing what's going on within our oceans currently, some other descriptive words come to mind. Ocean acidification is described as the decrease in pH levels in our marine seas associated with the increase of carbon in the atmosphere. As humans pump more and more carbon emissions into the air, a quarter of that gets absorbed by the seas, and it is having devastating effects on the plant and marine life within those seas. An example is with shellfish, where due to the low pH levels in the seas, it's affecting the amount of carbonate atoms that crabs and lobsters and oysters use to create their exoskeletons, their shells, making it so these animals and species are unable to build an exoskeleton in an appropriate time period, which is having a significant effect, domino effect, on the marine seas. Ocean acidification. Our oceans have gotten 30% more acidic since the Industrial Revolution, 15% more acidic since the 1990s. The equivalent of a hopper car of coal is being dumped into the ocean every second. That's over 3,600 hopper cars of coal an hour, over 86,000 hopper cars of coal in a day, over 31 million hopper cars of coal are being dumped into the ocean every year. Over 31 million hopper cars of coal are being dumped into the ocean every year. Say that 3 times fast, and then think about the effects that might have. The decrease in pH levels in the ocean affects each different individual marine species differently. And a great example of this is the crab. In Maryland, the Maryland blue crab, the carbon that's going into the ocean is actually like steroids for the crab. And it's actually making it 3 times its normal size, which is having a very interesting effect on the ecosystem over there, because the clams that the crabs eat are being destroyed by the carbon that's going into the water. So while these crabs, now 3 times in size, have voracious appetites, there is not enough food for them to eat for them to enjoy with their newfound strength and growth. I live in Portland, Oregon, on the west coast of the United States, green capital of the world, and along our coast is the Dungeness crab. And the carbon that is going into the water on the west coast is actually killing off these crabs, because the carbon is affecting their ability to make exoskeletons. And probably the most famous crab and the most expensive crab is the giant red crab caught in fisheries in Alaska, made famous from the TV series The Deadliest Catch. And the graph that I have in this visual shows where this species will be 85 years from now. It will be completely extinct. These crabs, due to the emissions that are coming into the water, there is just not enough carbonate atoms for them to be able to grow their shells, which is going to completely devastate the species. And it's also going to have a huge effect on the Alaskan economy. The Northwest fishing industry in Alaska is a $1 billion industry, and the giant red crab is a $100 million market as a part of that industry. This is an expensive piece of seafood. You go to the famous Pike Street Market in Seattle, Washington, and the giant red crab goes for $39.99 a pound. And it's just really amazing to think that it will be completely gone just from what we're putting into the air. As I mentioned on the last slide, I am currently based in Portland, Oregon, along the west coast of the United States, an absolute beautiful part of the world. And sadly enough, the waters of the Pacific that I am close to have much higher acidity levels than other waters around the world. This is due to ocean currents and the shape of the continental drift along the ocean floor. Many carbon emissions that get absorbed by seas around the world over years and decades drift and end up settling along the west coast of the United States. And this is having a devastating effect on marine life and the fishing and seafood industry in my area, specifically in the Pacific Northwest. A great example of this is the oyster industry in Washington, where billions of oysters have died in the last 7 years due to the amount of acidity in the waters, where they are just unable to survive because they are unable to build a shell. And when you think about the history of oysters in this area, it really is disappointing in that for thousands of years, Native Americans in the Pacific Northwest fished for oysters. And that will never happen in this area again because the water is just too acidic for oysters to survive. So personally, I can see close hand, just by looking out at the water near me, how ocean acidification is affecting my life and is affecting the economy and is affecting cultural history. So I work with Energy Easy. We are a sales and marketing agency that supplies large organizations with leading edge products and services to help them reduce their energy and diesel consumption. And we have a large customer base within the seafood industry. And when thinking about sustainability and energy efficiency and alternative fuels, the seafood industry really needs to be sustainable, not just to lower operational costs, not just to improve the brand, but to save the value of its products. I mean, in my area, the oysters are already gone. In Alaska, the giant red crabs are disappearing. The Dungeness crabs are disappearing. We work with billion-dollar companies where these are the products that they supply. So the more energy that they use, the faster their product is going to become extinct, meaning their business is going to become extinct. And it's just really a significant correlation between the amount of energy that these seafood companies use and how it affects their product and how that will affect the global consumer. Global demand for seafood is rising exponentially, and as this is occurring, supply is decreasing. So the seafood industry is really reaching an interesting point where some big decisions are going to be made in how companies and organizations move forward, because global consumers are thirsty for more fish than ever, but the demand is far exceeding the supply, and the supply is getting smaller every day. And a large reason of that is because of ocean acidification. So in conclusion, the oceans are slowly being destroyed. The marine life and the plants within them are significantly affected by the decreased pH levels in the water. And that is directly caused by the amount of carbon emissions that are being absorbed by the sea. I'm currently located in the United States, where there is still a strong force that is saying that climate change is not caused by humans, and the ocean acidification is not caused by human beings, which is fine. You know, we look at those people the same way we look at the people that say that we did not land on the moon and that 9/11 terrorist attacks was a conspiracy. The bottom line is things have to change or our oceans are going to get worse and worse, which is going to have a devastating effect on the global economy and the health of future generations. Ocean acidification.